So hello and welcome to the New Junction Garden Railway. You join me once again with Lulu, and can you believe it? The sun is out, so we can finally get on with some progress. Where you join me now, the track is finished, the trains are running, but I'm going to take you back a few months, not this far. But I'm going to take you back a few months and show you how I got to this stage. But otherwise, welcome back to the New Junction Garden Railway. So hello and welcome to the next instalment of New Junction, the Garden Railway series. Now, it has been a while, but that's because it won't stop raining in this garden. I think it's the curse of having a garden railway. So, as you can see behind me with the loop, it has felt on it now, so I have been beavering away at it when I've been off camera because I've been trying to keep up with the progress. However, the rain and the showers are holding off, and me and Lulu have ventured into the garden once more. So, by the end of today, I want trains running in the garden, so hopefully you're in for a nice episode. So first things first, as ever, I'm going to jump straight to the progress with a nice montage. We're going to clear the track, we're going to lay the track, and then we're going to see about getting trains running. Right, let's get on. Shall we go lay some track? Do you want to lay some track? Hey, shall we go do it? No? Shall we go in? Shall we just go in? Yeah, let's go in, let's forget it, let's go in. No? Oh, you want to lay track? Oh, you want to lay track? Okay, we'll go lay track. Okay, let's go get the track. Let's go get it. Come on then. Hell is that? Lulu, don't stick your nose in that. That's disgusting. That better not be you. Emptying yourself on a New Junction Garden Railway. That's no pigeon. I'm gonna have to get rid of that. So you all know I've been having a bit of trouble earlier in the year trying to get hold of track like everyone else. Now, hold on. Get off that. Yeah, you. It's not for you. I've done it now, haven't I? So, where was I? Earlier in the year, I was struggling to get hold of track like everyone else. Now, my brand new track did since arrive. Now, I think I'm losing the plot here because these are brand new boxes, both meant to be right hand, but they're both left hand points. Now, is that just me, or someone's losing the plot? So here we are at the junction to the Garden Railway, and as you can see, the tracks coming down from the station end to the single track side, I suppose, to the loop. Now this is the junction where the loop basically splits, and I've simulated that with the 2 lines going to the top of your screen, 2 lines coming to the bottom, coming back to your bottom of your screen. Now what I wanted to do initially was to have 2 right hand points cross over, and it looks a bit snazzy, but because I've got 2 left-hand points in the boxes, I'm going to have to change the plans for now. So I'm going to put the cross point away, and I'm actually going to use 1 right-hand and 1 left-hand point. Basically, I'm going to put a left hand sort of there, and bring this right hand right forward. Take that away. put it to there. So in theory, the tracks now won't cross over at all, which is great for polarities and whatnot. But it just looks, well, a bit less impressive. But because it's going into winter, or we are in winter, I'm going to put this back in its box and not let it get spoiled. But that should work. So let's get on with that, and we'll get some more track laid. I'm trying to do something to camera. It's not good enough, is it? Do you want me to throw this? Is that what you want? Right, now before she comes back, a lot of you asked, with this loop sticking out so far in the grass, you came back far too fast. Far too fast. I'm gonna have to lose this in a tree, aren't I? Oops, might have done that. So a lot of you asked on the last video, because this loop comes out so far into the garden, isn't it going to be a pain to maintain the grass, the lawn, etc., particularly with a mower? So one aspect I did take on board is I did think, yes, it is going to be a pain, although lower down in the garden, it's tall enough just to go under. It's not the nicest, is it? So it'd be nice to have a proper place. So what I did was create a removable bridge section, just like this. And all this is basically a continuation of the frame that I've used throughout the rest of it, except rather than being screwed into the posts, the actual posts themselves has a ledge which holds it up both sides. And as you can see, very simple. This normally doesn't live out in the garden, you see. Or it hasn't done. That's why it's not got a cover on just yet, but I've got one cut. I just need to add it to it when it dries out again. But no, it's actually quite handy. Bit heavy, but I'm sure eventually we could swap this for a proper bridge. Oh, sorry! Where is it? Right, I've got 10 seconds. Eventually I'll swap this for a proper bridge, but for now it just adds a bit of practicality to the garden. Oh, dogs, eh? So I've come to a bit of a fork in the road, no pun intended. Do I double track the loop, or do I double track the line back down to the station? I think, sadly, I'd prefer to do the loop, but I'm going to do the rest of the line, mainly because as we're coming into spring, I'm going to try and get it double tracked before the plants start overgrowing again. So it's just a bit easier now if I get it over and done with. So, back to the station. Can't quite believe it. After a year of building this railway, I'm finally finished what I'm going to call stage 1. So just to give you another tour, we've got the station end here. I jump down. My lovely reflection. So this is the station end. Come round a sweeping curve there. Then we go around the Hebe bush into a snake. So that could be good for some running footage. Don't know if you can see that. It took a bit of doing. Some of the track has to be straightened out yet. You just see my shadow. Then we go right into the garden there. Surprisingly, it's not been too bad with clutter thus far. Then we come under this absolutely giant fern. You can see it towers above the railway. And then we come onto the return balloon loop. So far it's double track, I wish. It's single track. And it just returns back on itself. So, nicely positioned. Here are my engines that we're going to use for a test. So what an absolute cracker of a day. Perfect for running a garden railway. So, this is the lineup I've dug out, and this should be a fair test of the garden railway. We'll start from your left with this Ehrling class 05, the 060 shunter. Now in theory, unlike double O gauge and N gauge, this model should be quite forgiving. It's fitted with the stay alive, in fact they all are, and therefore it should go around anything. Lumps, bumps, tight curves, wide curves, should be perfect. And of course if this goes around the layout, that opens the doors to all 060s, such as the Terriers, the pannier tanks, things like that. So it's quite a good test to see what will work. Next, in the middle, we move on to my Fairburn tank. Now this is a brass kit O-gauge model. I actually think this one will struggle the most around this layout, not necessarily because of its size, but brass kits in O-gauge tend to be more intricate and therefore less forgiving of tighter curves, lumps and bumps, etc. So this one will be the real test. So if this one goes around the layout, it just indicates that the finer model likes my track work, and well, it opens a very expensive door to brass kits. So moving on to the biggest locomotive in the lineup, this is my Hatton's A4. It's a Ehrling made ready-to-run model of Union and South Africa. Now, I don't think this one will struggle as much as the Fairburn tank. Now the reason being is ready-to-run models are often designed to go around second radius, the same as double O and N gauge. What I'm secretly hoping for is that if my Fairburn tank doesn't like the track work here, that the A4 does, because that means really I should be able to get away with pretty much any ready-to-run steam loco. Now things like the diesels, like the class 37s, 50s, 25s, 20s, that kind of thing, they shouldn't have any problem, and if the 05 can go around it, then they should. So it's time to stop procrastinating. I'll go and dig out a controller from the garage, and we'll bring out an extension lead, and we'll get the trains running. So in the interest of fairness to this test, I want to be absolutely clear. The only electrical points I have currently on the entire layout, which is almost 250 foot worth of track, is this one connection. When it's all done, when I said previously that each piece of rail will be soldered together, I didn't mean physically, but there'll be a loop of wire in between each piece of track, which will take the current down the rails, almost like the rails of the bus wires. Right, so time for the first victim of this test. And which way shall we go? Let's do the loop first. So some of the main things I'm looking out for are whether it'll go over some of the bumps. So where I've got joins, you can see there's a slight bump in the rail, which it will. And then coming round, if I can follow it. Now this is the tightest part of the entire railway. So this is the worry, particularly for the brass kit and the A4, which as you can see, the O5's just absolutely bossed that, gone straight round. It seems to be pootling on quite well. As you can see, that's now heading off down the loop quite well and onto the rest of the railway. So as you can see, this little chappie has absolutely no problem going around the garden railway. So I won't bore you with him going back up the other side. What I'll do is I'll bring him back to the controller and I'll swap engines. So this is the tightest corner and the one I think the brass loco will struggle on. Now, I'm just over 6 foot tall, and you can see how high the railway is. So I'm being on this corner in case it does derail, as we'll find out. So I've left it slowly creeping round, and fingers crossed it goes round, but of all of it, this is the part that it's going to derail on. So I'm watching it very closely, particularly the pony truck at the front, pony trucks at the back. Oh, and it's just riding up. You can just see this inside wheel. It's lifted right up there. See, it's lifting up and derailed. That's a shame because it almost went round. So I'm just going to grab the pony truck. I'll let that carry on. But I've noted that for the future that this corner, we either need to do something to it, so it either needs pinning down because you can see it's a bit loose, or I've got a feeling it's going to be too narrow, and hopefully the outside line, when we install that, will be wide enough for it. Otherwise, it's going to have to leave the collection. Right, I'm going to let this carry on now, and we'll see how it does on the rest of the track. Right, so I wanted to show you a Fairburn tank, but it's stopped right in the worst position under the tree. You can see it just there. So what I'm going to do is go and rescue it and see if we can't continue. This one's proving rather difficult. Go. I thought this one would be the difficult one, and I'm being proven right here. So, a little update, it stopped shortly after that clip, right behind the hebe bush. So let's go and explore. I have a feeling, yeah, pony truck. So sadly, this corner in particular, as you can see, isn't tight at all. So, it's not looking good for the brass engine. Let's go and see if we have more luck with the A4. So third and final on the test this afternoon. This is my Hatton's A4. Now the reason I wanted to include this is, as you'll have seen maybe in the intro, there's something rather special about this locomotive. It's got steam, and that's real steam, or vape I should say, coming out the top. It's also got drain cocks as well, which you may not be able to see because the wind slightly picked up. However, this is currently the pride of the fleet. I'll bring you a separate video on this one very soon. The work here, for anyone who's interested, was done by a company called TRS Trains, and I'll put a link in the description below. Right, let's see if it'll go around the layout. There's Lulu. And as we can see, the ready-to-run model has just about made it. So even though that test took most of the afternoon, it was well worth doing and provided some very predictable, some non-predictable results. The Ehrling 05 060, for example, I knew that would go around the layout because I've been using it to test various sections as I've laid the track. So that means things like panniers, terriers, etc. will hopefully be suitable for this layout. The Fairburn tank brass kit. Now, I knew that would be the tough one. I'm slightly gutted that it is the tough one. It didn't go around the track at all very well. Oddly, I thought it'd be things like its details, like its steps that would catch on the pony trucks, which would throw it off and things like that. But actually, no, it proved that it wouldn't go round even quite mild curves, really. So I'm going to have a real think about that one and what to do with it. I might have to bite the bullet and trade it in and get something like a Coco diesel or a Bobo diesel, because they will surefire go around this layout. Very heavy and well, very manoeuvrable. So it's a shame about the brass kit, but we had to do the test to find out. And it's better to find out now with a loco like that than invest in some of the very, very expensive kits out there. And finally, my A4. Now, yes, it's a ready-to-run loco, so it should have been a bit more forgiving of the layout, which it was, which I'm very glad that it did, because although it's not a perfect model out of the box by any means, I've invested slightly in it because I really wanted one. I really wanted one. So I've had it weathered, I've had it fitted with the steam system, which I'll show you more of on a separate video. It was very difficult today because we had such a cracking day, cracking weather. It was actually too bright to see the steam, so I could see it in the flesh, but as you'll see from the footage, or I've just seen from the footage, it doesn't look very steamy. But no, absolutely fantastic work done by TRS Trains there. I can't recommend them enough, and I'm going to queue up more engines for that service. And I suppose ultimately the A4 struggled on areas which I could probably have guessed it would have. So where I've not replaced the sleepers in between the track joins, for example, it didn't like those too much. If the track wasn't 100% clean, even though they're all fitted with stair lives. But actually, on the whole, considering I only had one power point and I've not used my Gaugemaster power booster yet on the layout, I'm actually quite surprised at how well everything's run. It has, of course, given me a jobs list for the next time, and maybe some of the things that I've found will help you. So such as corners being too tight, or corners that aren't necessarily tight, but locos still don't like them. So it might set you on a path of a certain type of locomotive. So, for example, now I will focus on smaller engines like 060s, 040s in the steam variety, or I'll stick to Coco and Bobo diesels, which is a shame, but that's how it is. And to be fair, it'll probably save me a lot of money in the long run having that category than going down the brass kit route. It was always going to be a bit of a challenge trying to make something suitable for, I suppose, the more finicky of engine in a garden like this, with a railway like this as well. I think if you were going to focus on that, you'd probably do something waist high and in a perfect circle. So on the jobs list for next time, I'm going to replace all the sleepers that are missing. I'm going to go over the track and find any bumps and lumps which were causing issue today, and well, pin them down. You know how much I like pinning track down. I'm also, this stuff, I'm going to trim it down so it looks very neat, because as you'll see, it's all different lengths going around the layout, but that's not for today. Today is for enjoying the railway. There are also areas that have been highlighted to me after today's running sessions that are problem areas. So, for example, just over my shoulder, there's an area which hardly has anything above it, but it's absolutely covered in bird doo-doo. Yet areas which are, so I've got the bit of track that goes directly under a giant fern, hardly had any debris on it at all, and the track was relatively clean actually. So in an odd twist of things, the bit that I thought would stay clean didn't, and the bit that shouldn't have stayed clean has. So it's well worth doing these things and just, I suppose, getting to know your railway. Right, so I've had great fun today. It's time to get on and get a train out of the box which without the improvements, will run round the Garden Railway, and I'll just give you an example of the service that I'll be able to run here at New Junction on the Garden Railway. While the terrier's going round the loop, I'd just like to give a quick shout out to all the channel patrons. So a big thank you to CW315, Lewis Forrester, Sam Yates, Trish Bits, Stephen Owen, Colonel Failure, John Heel, Andy Clark and Jack Taylor. And there we go, that is a completed service. It just stopped, oh my word, on the outro. The finish is right there! And that is a completed circuit. Oh, it's done it again. I'm going to get the track rubber. And with that, that's a completed circuit of the New Junction Garden Railway. Obviously in the future there'll be a station. Okay, it's died here. Okay, I give up trying. So, this will be a completed circuit of the Garden Railway. It's obviously dying just here, which isn't too bad on one PowerPoint. So I'm going to say thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, if you want to see more, subscribe. And well, the next update is already well underway. It's where you see me tidy up the railway. I visit DCC Concepts in Settle to discover how I can electrify this properly and well, resolve some of these running issues, such as this one. They also have a very neat system, which is an out and back shuttle system, which I'll be utilising on this very layout. So this has been a very fun afternoon. Long may the weather stay sunny. I've got loads of videos in the pipeline, and don't forget to stay tuned because very soon I'll have the Hattons A4 with real steam. Right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now. So you join me and Lulu here. The track is finished, the trains are running. Keep it rolling. The great thing about working in the garden is you find loads of little creepy crawlies that you've never seen before. Look at this little fella. Isn't he really cool? I'll say that, he's probably going to eat my finger off. Cool little dude. So, sorry to interrupt your montage, but I was thinking actually, as I'm currently on my knees here, it's a real shame. There's no real way to show you or to highlight how much the level of the garden changes and how much the level of this railway changes. But if I can think of something, I'll show you. No, that one's going to take some more thought. Anyway, back to the montage. So I've come to my local model shop, Tony's Trains, and due to the current restrictions, this is as close as I can get to you. It's probably a good thing for Tony, but as you can see, he's got the goods out for me. Oh, and the track. So thanks a lot, Tony. And I'll see you on the 12th.